Welcome back. This is hour number 2. We got another really fun hour lined up, and at the bottom of the hour, we're going to do the speed read, Adam. So make sure you listen on your way back to the office. So we're going to have some fun. I thought you were going to be here. That's why I prepped the questions. But yeah,
sorry about that.
'Tis the season. It
is. It's been busy, which is good. That's good. But I think you're going to be. You have Sarah on the phone. You guys are going to be talking. Kind of tools for first-time home buyers to know if you're ready. I get the question all the time, what inspections do I need for insurance, right? Or what are these inspections for? So,
I'm the one asking it.
And he's the one asking it. But, what happens is I get people, do I need a 4-point? No, not necessarily, right? If it's 30 years or newer, you don't need one. That full home inspection is going to tell you all you need to know. Now, we never need to see the full home inspection. Mm-hmm. You definitely don't want to send that to your insurance agent or any carrier because it's going to say...
Or your lender.
Because it's going to say way too many things that they don't want to know.
It's for your information.
It is for your information. But I will say if a roof has been replaced in the lifetime of the house, or especially recently, you're going to want to get that wind mitigation because that's where you're going to get your credits. So
no 4-point unless the house is 30 years old. Is that what you're saying?
25, I thought.
It depends. A good rule of thumb is 30 or older. It's carrier specific, but so ask your agent first, but that's what I would say.
Unless there's been updates, then it's probably a good idea to get it.
Yeah? No.
I wouldn't waste the money.
Okay.
The 4 points used to tell you, the 4 points used to not give you insurance, so you don't want to create that. The wind mit, that's if you have a...
Exactly. So 4 points are for...
I love how you put that. It's used to not get you
insurance. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
That's true. That's a frame of reference, by the way. But 4 points are all about eligibility. Wind mits are all about credits.
Makes sense to me.
So.
All right, great. Tip
Thanks,
of the
guys.
week. And this, Adam Talley, of course, joining us, and he's going to schedule it for the last hour, like always. And then we'll go to our guest second hour. But on the phone also joining us, we have Sarah Cricky. Welcome back. How's your world going? It's been so busy over there. I haven't even chatted with you much.
Congratulations on your book. I'm getting ready to check it out on Amazon.
Yes, we are Amazon official as of this week. I'm sure you saw.
And she's a bestseller.
That's amazing. No, we're busy over here. Rates are still really low.
And so this week you're going to give us some tips, right, for first-time home buyers, and how do people know if they're ready to buy?
Yeah, it's really interesting times right now. There are still some great products in place for first-time home buyers that might need down payment assistance. A lot of the counties might be low or depleted on county down payment assistance funds.
Is there any of that down payment assistance money left right now?
It's touch and go. We literally have to check within each county's respective city limits and things like that to see what kind of funds are available and at what income level. And some are completely out right now, but there's still the Florida Bond Program. There's still USDA, which is an excellent zero down program in certain areas. So those things are still available to first-time home buyers. We're dealing with times right now where people have been furloughed, maybe even have changed jobs. It's just an interesting situation. Rates are super low. I know, the cost of homes is inching up, but what we're seeing is a lot of time, even if you're spending a little bit more on a house, you're coming out better on the payment because the interest rates are so great right now.
Yeah.
Just left our annual sales rally and had some excellent speakers, MBS Highway, Barry Habib, and our forecast this year is refis are going to dwindle a little later on. It's going to be a little bumpy on interest rates for a minute. They might inch up a little bit, but they're actually forecast to remain low. So we're expecting to have a great year. And to be able to offer consumers really low interest rates.
So what kind of changes are you seeing in underwriting, Sarah? Like, is there anything new, like, since COVID? Because all the rules seems like they were changing for a while.
I mean, they have, and I can tell you we're still dealing, and all lenders are still dealing with what are called overlays, where COVID is concerned, extra underwriting requirements in order to complete a transaction for self-employed borrowers, for W-2 employees. And again, we run into scenarios where, you know, maybe you're thinking, am I qualified to buy right now? And it's a personal assessment. I mean, if you've been living at home rent-free, maybe lost your job and got a new one, or purchased made a major purchase, like a vehicle purchase, and maybe you're not used to having a car payment. I mean, those are the kinds of things we look at so you don't go into any kind of payment shock situation.
But what happens when you're seeing that payment shock, when there's a significant difference or it's over the threshold that they want? Are they not approving it, or is it not going through automated underwriting?
So we're still getting our approvals in automated underwriting. Folks that live at home right now, rent-free, they're going to take on their very first mortgage payment. You know, with a good credit score, we're getting approvals left and right. It's just a little more sensitive to the credit score right now. Looking for a little bit of a stronger credit score in order to approve riskier situations.
Yeah.
Where you're not accustomed to paying a mortgage, or, you know, maybe you haven't had a car payment or a rent payment, and now you've signed up for a $500 or $600 automobile loan, and, you know, it's great when you buy that, but if you're not used to making the payment, want to make sure that you're comfortable within your means and your budget.
Are you seeing any of those lower credit scores come back into the approval realm? Because I know for a long while, anything 620 was going, 580 was really, really spotty. But you said they had actually moved that up after COVID to like what, 640, 660? Is that still the case? Is that still what you're seeing?
We're getting government approvals in the 620 range. The pricing is low, not as pretty as over 640 or 660, but we are getting automated approvals.
Now, are the lenders still having overlays for those, or are they allowing them?
Every lender has a different overlay. For example, you know, with the mortgage firm, we're looking at least a minimum middle credit score of 620. In order to move forward and get an automated approval. We're not doing manual underwrites at this time, which just means that if you can't get an automated approval, we can manually approve your loan. Some lenders are stuck on 640, some even higher at 660. Let
me ask you a question that just because I saw this week and I'm curious how it's going to go down. This buyer is a little while out from actually purchasing, and as you know, I'm a Dave Ramsey endorsed local provider, so a lot of times those folks, their credit score actually disappears, it goes away. So they paid off all their debt, they've got an amazing credit score right now, and I think, like, no one's actually pulled credit on them yet, but I think we may have one of the three scores that are starting to disappear. What's your suggestion on that? Like, what would happen if, let's say they pull a credit report and the scores are perfect, it's good to go, but by the time they're actually ready to buy in like, say, 4 months, or I don't know, maybe 6, but let's say 4 months, what would happen if the credit score completely disappeared? Because don't they refresh after 90 days, and what do you think they would do?
Yeah, correct. Right now, we are refreshing every 90 days. And I 100% agree with the philosophy of, you know, being debt-free. But then the other side of the coin is when you lose your scores, you could have done everything right and everything perfect. But when you have no scores, you automatically default in terms of an underwrite and in terms of an interest rate to the worst possible allowable score.
Yeah. But what my question was more like, what happens if, say, we pulled them, they had a score, they went through automated underwriting, they're in the process, but it took 4 months, and now that they've refreshed, there's no score. Would they, by chance, take that higher score with no debt into consideration? How do you think that would go down?
Are you saying that I have 2 scores left, I've just lost one, or I've lost them all?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I know obviously if they're going to use the lower of the 2, if there's 2, if there's only 1 left, they're going to use the 1. But what happens if they had, say, an over 700, maybe it was a 650, 800 credit score, but now that we're 4 months in, what if they've lost all their scores? Is underwriting going to look at that at all?
Absolutely. And you know, again, I totally agree with the philosophy of being debt-free, but sometimes you have to protect your score and insulate it by at least just maintaining one small credit account.
Yeah, that's a challenge sometimes, you know, with Dave Ramsey fans. And I got to tell you, like, literally, sometimes they talk to 3 ELPs, and I was the third, and he was dead set against it. Like, no debt. So I want to respect him, too. But it was a curious question that came up this week, so I'm sure you'll be talking to him. So
we get into a catch-22 on our end because we want to price this loan on the best, highest possible credit score. And it doesn't mean that you have to carry a lot of debt. But if you have just a small account, $10, you know, monthly payment, something minimal, just so that the bureaus have something to review to maintain that higher credit score. It's going to serve you well later on when you make
get it. Hard to explain sometimes. Yeah. Stick around, Sarah. We'll be back.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. This is Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering and Inspection. Do we still have Sarah on the phone, or did she have to scurry off?
I think she had to go.
Closings?
She was like in the middle of a couple closings and some home repairs and all kinds of stuff.
Well, that means we should jump right into Chris with Rubenstein Law Firm.
What's the matter? You don't want to try to pronounce his last name?
Come on, you got to try it.
Gaj?
Yeah, let's try. What's your guess?
We'll give you 3 shots.
Gaj.
Okay.
Number 2?
Don't be shy.
Second guess.
Gage? I'm an engineer, so if it was numbers, I'd nail it. But how about Ga?
Closer.
Like Ga?
Yeah.
No, but that's the first time I actually have heard a baby sound for the last name. So Ga. It's actually Guy, not girl, but Guy.
Like the real estate guy.
Oh, Guy.
Yeah, Guy.
The attorney guy.
Hey, Guy. It's a Polish background, so that's all I know. And I don't think it was shortened, not for like 100 or so years.
So what was the long version of it?
I think way back when, or at least what the guy at the kiosk at the mall said 10 years ago, Gayoski, probably.
Okay.
Like that, throw a ski on there and we're good to go.
Of course,
yes. And to combine the two.
Sure.
So what kind of law?
Welcome. He's Rubenstein Law?
Yeah, it was Rubenstein Law. What kind of law is that?
It's all injury.
All
injury.
Is that all they do? I thought they did some other stuff too, no?
We had a labor and employment department, which we, shut down for the most part, but it's all primarily, we just want to be Florida's injury law firm, and anything from accidents to injuries, wrongful death, and
that's a good,
that's malpractice.
So you're on you're on the public side, you're not protecting the businesses.
We are fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's a good comment. Yes. So the plaintiff.
He's such a lawyer. I love this. I love this. I want this.
We gotta loosen him up a little bit.
Yeah, loosen him up. Well, he came in a suit. For those that are watching us on the YouTubes, make sure you smash like and subscribe.
He's dressed to the 9. He looks great.
Listen, this is the first time I've worn, this may sound bad, but the first time I've worn a pant suit in a long time.
He hasn't been out of the house in a year, right?
No, we've gone, luckily now with all the technology, the court system have adopted, you would normally see me from right here. So
it's easy to throw on.
I could be wearing some shorts.
But you can tell when people aren't wearing pants because, like, your shirt gets tucked in and it hangs a certain way on your chest for a guy when you were tucked in, and when you're not tucked in, you can tell you're billowy.
Only you would pay attention to those details. I don't think anyone else cares if they're looking at that on a Zoom.
I could care less about Zooms, but so how do you handle my case? Do you get a copy of our insurance policy? Do you find us? We find you. So after we found you, what's the next step? And I got injured in an automobile accident, or I fell off a ladder at work, or
talk about some of the people you represent.
I electrocuted myself in a real estate office. How do we contact?
Or from, you had an injury from that gas. We'll take that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, right. We'll take that auto accident, for example. You're involved in an auto accident. You're not at fault, or at least you don't believe you are. You come to us. We get you signed up so we can legally represent you in the state of Florida. And then the process begins. Obviously, we want to make sure your injuries or any sort of pain that you're experiencing is documented. We do seek out insurance coverages, not only from the at-fault side, but also from your own insurance, assuming you actually went the extra mile and purchased what's considered uninsured motorist coverage. So it's basically coverage in case the person that hits you doesn't have coverage, which is not required in the state of Florida. And that I could talk about for another hour, so we'll skip that portion.
How is it possible for them to not have coverage? Because isn't it required?
It's I call it the Wild Wild West. Florida is one of the 2 remaining states in the country that does not require bodily injury coverage. So bodily injury, we'll call it BI. We do require insurance coverage, but there's only two forms. No fault insurance, which we've all heard no fault state. You've heard it, no fault.
Like, what does that mean, though? Can you break that down?
Yeah, no fault. It's the substitution for personal injury protection insurance, PIP, call it PIP. So whether Katrina T-bones me or I go right into the side of Katrina's car, let's say I'm at fault, either way.
Please don't do that. I just got a new car.
No. This is a theoretical.
I'm listening.
What kind of car? So I just keep an eye out.
It's blue.
It's blue?
No, it's not.
Oh,
Car.
no longer blue?
Story for the next segment.
Yeah, pass along. It's the limousine. The rule of thumb is that your own insurance is going to provide you up to $10,000 for medical bills, even if I'm at fault, right? So people think you got to call your insurance agent after the show and see exactly what coverages you have, because people think, I've got full coverage. That's a myth, because full coverage in the state of Florida requires two things: the $10,000 in no-fault benefits, which is the PIP, so no matter who's at fault, and then $10,000 in property damage. So even if I carry the basic insurance, which is the 10 and 10 I just talked about, and I T-bone Katrina's Ferrari out there, the most she's going to get out of my insurance is $10,000 to fix her Ferrari. Right? So I would double-check what you have on coverage, because you cannot depend on other people. We are working with the Florida legislature to change the insurance laws. I know our firm has been one of the front runners, along with many firms in the Bay Area.
For what? To make sure it's required?
To make sure that bodily injury insurance, in case someone gets hurt, or
And
God
it's your
forbid,
fault.
there's a wrongful death, that there is insurance coverage out there. Because right now, all you're dealing with is the no-fault benefits, which is $10,000, right? You have your own money, and then the $10,000 for property damage.
I mean, cars are well worth more than $10,000 nowadays. You can't even get the computer for a car for less than 10.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, yeah, it's a whole, like, insurance is a whole thing. It's too bad Adam left, because he could totally chime in on this.
I can handle this. I'm in the property side of the insurance.
Oh, I know you know a lot about it as well.
So
You
I
just got to make sure you have, what I would recommend is you have to carry that bodily injury insurance. You got to take care of others before you take care of yourself. Cowboy mentality. You can't just, I want $1 million in uninsured motorists, in case the 18-year-old who went online and purchased the basic insurance doesn't have insurance. So you're going to have to get bodily insurance in case you hurt someone. That allows you to purchase for pennies on the dollar the uninsured motorist. So call your agent, email them, say, do I have BI and do I have UM?
Okay. BI and UM.
Boom.
Yeah.
Unless you want people to come after your assets and everything.
So speaking of coming after, I do have a good question.
I actually want to talk about that,
do have a good question. So I know, like, in the construction defect world, a
Yep.
case is 2 years. In the property damage world of an insurance claim, your case is a year. How long do your cases take on the personal injury side? Because,
Great.
I mean, I'm, like, stacked up with medical bills. I've got this added stress. I might be out of work.
I might not have a car, and that could have been the only form
I
of
might not have a car to
transportation.
get to work. So how long does my case take? That's what I care about. I know you'll get me a lot of money. I just want to know how long it's going to take.
And you guys are a litigation firm, right? Which
Correct.
means you don't just say you're going to sue them; you'll actually sue them.
We actually sue them. We sue them in-house, and I'll split up your answer multiple ways. For if you're bringing a claim in an auto accident case or against, a real estate business that you may slip and fall in.
Or electrocute yourself.
Sure.
Those are decorations from the birthday party the day before.
You're going to have 4 years to bring that claim into court in the state of Florida for any injury claim. As far as that side, that UM I mentioned, that's a contractual, because it's an agreement between you and your insurance. You're going to have 5 years on that one. Medical malpractice, 2 years from the date that the medical malpractice occurred, or when you should have known it did. And as far as the length of your case, it's not overnight. It truly depends on. There's going to be a difference between, let's say, a wrongful death to go to extreme, and someone that has neck and back pain, which is valid, but that neck and back pain may be different than someone who was ran over on their bicycle and fractured their femur, their big leg bone, and had multiple operations or whatnot. So it truly is dependent on the recovery of the injured victim, but we move our cases. We don't want the case to collect dust, so to speak, and we move it efficiently, because if the insurance company is going to, what I would say in the terms of my old man, Mickey Mouse around or play some games, and they're going to lowball offer to you or whatnot, or we don't feel that is a reasonable settlement offer, we'll just file a suit and move forward. And that
What time frame you guys give them to usually, like, pony up or get out of the way?
Standard demand usually we give them a reasonable time because they're depending the volume of medical records, like those records you were talking about, those bills, every sort of even expert reports. We give them 30 days, and if it's valid if they don't meet our demand, and perhaps what the client wants to negotiate, we'll follow. Obviously we work for the client. We'll give them our advice. Like I'm not gonna if we're on this planet and the insurance company's on this planet. There's no sense, It'd be like you list the house for $500,000 and someone sent in an offer for $10,000.
Yeah, I'll give you two.
Yeah, well, there's nothing to talk about. And with this pandemic, it's caused a delay in litigation. There hasn't been a single trial in Hillsborough County, I want to say, since March.
So not even on Zoom?
No, not in Hillsborough. I'm just focusing on Hillsborough. I believe there was a trial in Miami and in Jacksonville via Zoom. Civil trial, that is. They're really pushing forward the criminal court cases, right, with the timing and due process and civil.
How do you think that's going to work, like with jurors and stuff? I mean,
it's I don't want to say it's an unknown. There's a lot of theories from everyone that has their thoughts on it. Bottom line, I like to be in front of people. Now you're dealing with face shields, you're dealing with social distancing, you're dealing with the Zoom aspects, and they're doing a couple mock runs throughout the state. But it's caused a backlog.
I just wonder how that's going to work out if they have to go Zoom with jurors, right? Because typically they kind of keep those guys contained. They've got to keep their mouth shut, be quiet, for however long it takes.
You pack them, row by row, because in jury selection, you're dealing with dozens of people to select them. But it's caused a logjam, to say the least.
All right, so when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more. I'm curious to know, what happens if you guys actually lost the case? Are they still going to owe the experts and the doctors and, all these fees and expenses? So we'll cover that, and then we'll chat about quite a few of the stories and, just generically speaking, some of the people that your firm has represented and what their stories are.
Sounds great.
All right, this is Tampa Home Talk. We will be back right after this break. Stick around. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Leo Kane here with Barrel Engineering and Inspection, asking the tough questions. If I lose my case...
Wait, before we do, let's give it our off-air number.
Oh, yeah, 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775.
And if you got questions for Chris, you can text him now. He's live in the studio with us.
Asking Chris from Rubenstein Law Firm the tough questions. If I lose my case, do I owe money to everyone?
And I just want you to know that number, which is 813-377-2775, you're not supposed to text when you're driving. Just
Thank
do
you,
that.
Chris.
No texting when you're driving.
At least wait till you get the red light.
Yeah, right. We work on what's considered or called a contingency fee. There's no, some attorneys work on a retainer. You give them several thousands of dollars down. They charge $500 an hour. You got to give them your credit. We don't take a dollar from the client. Up front there is no retainer. We work on a contingency fee. If you lose your case, in the circumstance that you lose your case, you are not responsible for our fees. You're not responsible for all the costs that we have expended, experts, any sort of cost internally, and then we will still assist you in working on your medical bills, and we've done a fairly good job on that. It's a very rare occasion, but in the circumstance that it does, we will still we won't leave you out there to hanging dry.
Can you share some of the stories, because you've had quite a few stories that you'll share weekly in another group that we're with.
Sure.
And so who are some of the people and the families that you represent? What's the one case that you'll never forget?
Oof.
Do you have one that really sticks in your mind that you won and you feel like you really did justice for that customer?
Yeah, there's scroll. It's just, you ever seen the movie Minority Report?
Yeah, with Tom. Yeah,
and he's just doing all that with the
predicting the future,
right? And I'm just seeing these just cases and families just go by. I'd say a sad one that, I take my cases very. I'm passionate about them. I'm just one that it was more recent. That's why it's in my head. Is was a motorcycle accident in Central Florida, and those could be deadly, to say the least. And in this case, it was a death case. It was a wrongful death case. And the kid was young. He was an adult, married with a child. And
what happened?
What irked me about that one, the victim here, the deceased, was traveling. He had the right of way. and the defendant drove in front, and he collided into the side of that vehicle, and he had his chest plate on, he had his gear, he had his helmet, and he got tossed off the bike and died outside of multiple brain injuries and internal organ injury. There was no coming out of that. Why that one? Look, you have a death case. Oh, that should be sad, but what's the fight here? It was the liability, surprisingly. How even though there was a death case and we had the right of way, that the insurance company, people think motorcycles, let's be honest, unless you have one yourself, people have an automatic stigma. This is something we do with mock jurors and trials. You think motorcycles, you think speed, you think just wild driving, and it's not fair, by all means. Anyway, they assumed my guy was speeding, and they assumed, well, the person that was alive was the defendant. Oh, I didn't see them; they must have been speeding. You didn't see him because you weren't paying attention, and you violated the right of way. And it came down to liability on that one, which was so clear. But again, the insurance company, as much as we want to appreciate them because they provide insurance in certain circumstances, defend, deny, delay is the name of the game. They're not in the business of giving away money by all means. And in this case, we were able to get the max, which, again, it never replaces the value of a life. It was 7 figures, but it does justice for the family left behind. Right.
You say that they have the right of way. Talk more about that.
Sure. And in this case, it was north and southbound lanes in city highway-wise. And you see it all the time. You see the medians where it's left turn into the side streets. No stop signs, no lights. And it's kind of, listen, I've been there. And just from my father, you stay there until it's clear. You don't try to make it in between, and you might stay there for a while. And then you've got the guy behind you honking their horn, or just you see them waving their arms around. Wait there until it's clear and safe for you to cross without any sort of accident.
Yeah, if you ever try to make a left out here on 54, it's...
Oh, no. Listen, I've been to the point where, look, I'll just take a right, and I'll go around, and I'll just do a U-turn at the light, but you've got to wait. So the right-of-way there, traveling north and southbound without any streetlights, our client in this case, or any motorist in that situation, had the right-of-way.
So the guy was turning or going straight? He was going straight?
We were going straight. We're traveling straight.
And then he was trying to make it across.
And then this defendant was trying to do, we were traveling north, they were traveling south, and then they were going to make a left-hand turn, and boom.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's sad, too. I had a past client of mine. We ended up selling their house because usually when something like that happens, people don't want to stay in their place. And it had a small little boy. And something very similar, literally, she passed away right in front of the daycare where the kid's school was. And apparently there was a lot of accidents there. And basically, I think they eventually put a light there after her death. But there was, I guess, multiple there.
Sure.
Does the state have any liability in something like that?
That's
when they know there's multiple injuries and deaths at that intersection?
That's another animal of its own. And there's ways to go about that. There are certain limitations when it comes to sovereign cases. So sovereign, you think sovereign, just think it comes from the days of the royalty, like king, sovereign, where they're almost immune from any sort of liability. Laws have changed. Any county, city, state case has its own limitations, and you really have to go through the numbers on there because sure there may be a lot of accidents, but then they're going to go pro rata of how many motorists go through there, what time frame. And this and that. It usually happens when people, and I was one of the folks that joined in a neighborhood too. Like, look, we have accidents here today. Let's get a light out there. And traffic, the county's traffic division, they'll do their research. They have guys behind there, and obviously they don't record those street cameras. It's just for surveillance. So they'll be able to monitor and determine, and then it's more of a numbers game for them, unfortunately to say, but. It is a potential avenue of recovery.
Yeah, it's hard, especially something like that where
Absolutely.
and you can't bring the person back.
Sure.
So you guys, it's not only like car accidents and motorist stuff. You guys also do slip and falls,
sure.
business liability.
Yeah, that's also out there. Laws have changed when many years ago where unfortunately you think slip and fall and. Would you slip on a banana peel like the cartoon character?
Yeah.
And it's not fair. It wasn't fair to businesses because people wouldn't even know what they slipped on Right? But they're like, look, I came to Katrina's and I slipped, pay me. Unfortunately, courts got packed, a lot of frivolous or fraudulent potential claims, and it just, what are you going to do? I mean, if I'm walking my baby, let's say, who should we pick on right now? Walmart. If I'm walking my baby, I got my baby, and, he drools or whatnot, you're walking behind me, and you slip and fall, how's that Walmart's fault?
On the baby drool.
On the baby drool,
Yeah.
It's actually happened.
So do you only represent the
The
people or
style
the other-
of flooring has an impact on it. There's something called the coefficient of sliding friction.
Leave it to the
See
engineer.
that, see that layup
Yeah.
right there?
And you have if you have a certain floor that has a lower coefficient of sliding friction, and you overcome that through baby drool, you can slip and fall very easily.
The key there, and why I bring up the initial walk and you fell, that came in as a case we did not handle, is the store, when the laws change, it's the plaintiff's, our side, the victim's side, to prove that the defendant, the store, the grocery store, the real estate office had notice. Either they knew or they should have known, and there's time frames of that. Like if you knew your roof is leaking, you knew it, and it was right there in the lobby. And if there isn't at least an attempt to repair it, there better be a warning. There better be some cones out there. There better be a wet floor. There better be some, even a bucket. But at least you warn people of it. I'm checking.
If we had a roof leak, Leo would let us know,
Yeah.
probably at least a year before it happened.
You'd be surprised how many defendants we find out once we file a lawsuit and we do our discovery, which is a chance for us to discover about the defendant. How many times they've been on notice, hey, the roof's leaking in aisle 4, or the refrigerator, the cooler in this grocery store has some issues, is leaking, and there isn't even a floor mat there or hasn't been repaired. So you can't just walk into a store and just fall and expect to make thousands of dollars or on pain and suffering.
Do you guys only represent the people? Do you ever
Only the
represent the
people.
businesses?
No.
Okay.
The businesses, assuming they have general liability or have some sort of insurance, by their contractual agreement with their insurance policy, they will provide them a defense attorney or defense firm by all means. So, I'm going to be careful and make sure I say the right motto, but we are all plaintiffs, all victims, and injuries, right?
You tried to trick them into saying
What's
that.
this snicker for?
Yeah. No, I think you saw where I was going with that, Leo.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I got involved in a personal injury case a couple of years ago at one of those, we'll say, buffet stores. And they cleaned their walkway at a certain time every day.
Sure.
And one of those days, they didn't put a mat out, and then someone slipped and fell. So I had to do a slickness study, and we did it. And we proved that because the mat wasn't out, they knew or should have known that if they made that area wet, someone could fall. And because that buffet store catered to the elderly.
Got it?
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like a hip fracture or at least some sort of spine injury. And I'm assuming it was
for the
ceramic.
kids with their parents listening, this is a good time to pay attention to that science experiment, because that's what Leo was just talking about.
See that? And I'm assuming it was ceramic tile.
Oh no, this was outside, so it was painted cement.
Yeah.
So it was a painted entranceway.
Yeah.
And you got to think these this buffet store in particular caters to elderly people. So if they fall and shatter a hip, there's really no recovery from that.
No, that's
the death knell.
That's a long process, a long recovery, and a very kids say a lot of infections happen with that. And all that would have taken is a sign, a mat, $50.
Yeah.
Versus a life-changing event and thousands of dollars in bills.
Who's the youngest client you've ever represented? The youngest plaintiff?
An infant.
Oh, how old?
An infant, and I know
under a year.
I'm gonna say an infant. It was a horrific case. It was yes, and it's strictly confidential, but involved a dog bite.
To a baby.
Yeah. That was a tough one.
And what about the oldest person?
Oh, what's funny is they reached out to me this past week. Great couple. They're going to be married 7 years this year.
Wow.
And she just told me, there's this lovely Cuban couple, 90. No, they're actually in their early 80s. The oldest gentleman I represented who had a slip and fall at a bank, 94.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Did he break something or?
Yeah. He had knee injuries.
Got it.
He felt, knee injuries for sure.
So we have Chris Gaj in the house. this morning
Hey.
with Rubenstein Law. And if you're in the car and something's going on, you might want to call or text when you're stopped
Sure.
to 813-377-2775. Our consultation's free. Can they talk to you?
100%.
Okay.
Every
So-
day, all day.
813-377-2775. Be careful out there driving. We know the traffic's a little light still from COVID, but it will definitely ramp up as the months continue. So
Yep.
keep them in mind. 813-377-2775. So welcome back. Are we going to try to speed read on the air?
Handed me the book with
minute.
45 seconds left.
What
It's a
step did you
150-page book. No, we're going to have to do this another time.
We got 8 minutes.
He can do it at a traffic signal.
Yeah, I can do it at a traffic signal.
If we talk to you while you're reading, does that count?
Yes, no, I'm just going to,
We have to wait?
we're going to wait.
All right, we'll do it next.
I already know you have a whole bunch of trick questions because I've seen some of them.
Stop looking.
Not looking now.
No, I purposely went to the book to like pick out things to see what you might not be able to answer in
wrote
speed reading.
the book. See, with
I know I
the
did.
trick with speed reading on a book is to be able to have an intelligent conversation with the author about its themes and its messages. It's not to say on page 7 you worked at Chick-fil-A and on page 34 you went ahead and
Wait, you worked at Chick-fil-A?
That was my first job. I talk about it in the book.
yeah, but that's not
No.
the purpose of speed reading. Is more about being able to have an intelligent conversation about the themes in it, and to be able to point out a couple like key stories. It's just to have a conversation, but it's
There are
knowing the
stories
themes.
all through my book, so how is that going to throw you off?
Well, no, the thing is, it's not like, well, during this story, what happened? It's all about the themes and the messages, and I can tie in a couple of those stories that jumped out at me just to have a conversation, it's different than knowing the finite details. So
Okay.
it's the
We're going to
mess-
have fun with it anyway.
Yes, we will. But obviously, I need time to read the
Leo,
book.
of course I created questions that would stump you. You didn't expect anything less, did you?
Yeah, but that's not the purpose of the speed reading, is not to get the finite details of the stories. It's to have the message.
I think you guys would already be at least a quarter of the way through
That's
while
what I'm
you try to
thinking,
figure
too.
out what the difference of speed reading is. But well, I think you could do it.
I think we'll do it next week.
So I'm Amazon official as of Monday.
And I won't order the book.
Please don't. So selling, not you, Leo. Listeners, please order because I can use your help. I have a goal of trying to get to 50 reviews. 50 verified purchase reviews.
50 reviews in 50 days.
No, not 50 days, by February.
50 reviews in 10 days.
Not 10 days. February. Like
February
I get the
is
month.
9 days from
But
now.
I get the month, not just the first. Like
You said by February. She said by February.
exactly. I didn't say when in February, right?
By what?
Isn't that
Okay,
a
you're the
pretty
lawyer.
answer?
What does by February mean?
I would say
By February. What does that
What
mean,
is
Chris?
what does by February mean? You're the lawyer.
you got till the end of the month,
Thank you.
End of January.
end of January.
You said end of the month.
By end of this month.
End of January.
Wait a minute.
If you would have said by the end of February,
Yeah.
I would
I
have.
didn't say that. I
You
said February.
by
I didn't say when in February.
You said by February.
in February.
In February.
In February would be
Now
different.
Now we're just. Can I get a court reporter? Can you read that back, please?
Yes.
You got it.
Actually, we have it on YouTube. We have it on the YouTubes.
All right.
I did say by February, but I didn't say when in February.
No, by February means before February.
You can't tell me an attorney couldn't argue that.
I think we could argue pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we don't want to rack up the bill on that one.
Well, we're almost. I want to. Okay, so I would say in February, but we're not in February, so it sounds a little silly to say that, don't you
So
think?
45 days within 50 reviews within 50 days.
It's not quite 50 days, is
Okay,
it?
it'll be like 45 days. But what sounds better? 50 reviews in 45 days or 50 by
Okay,
50?
I like your 50
50
reviews
by
in 50
50.
days. Got it.
As soon as I can figure out the password, you'll
and,
have one.
and it's a good metric. You want to be courting at least one review a day.
So I have to tell you, I think my team might have just sent it, but I had a listing appointment this week, and I went there, and they had sent them a copy of my book before I got there, and they read the whole thing before I got there.
Wow. That's great.
I was so
Any
impressed. Yes.
Did you ask them trick questions?
No, I didn't.
them
It's
feel
only
bad
for
about
you. I had to
themselves?
save it for you, Leo. No, so really, the consistent feedback that I've gotten, and you can crack on me or say whatever you want, but the consistent feedback that I've gotten is it's an easy read, it flows well, and that there's a lot of stories and analogies in the book that people liked.
I think people like People like analogies.
Yeah.
And if you can relate to them, all the better.
And there's a ton of them, right? So
great.
with each chapter, I'm making a point, but I usually share a story or two, sometimes more than two, in the chapter that relates to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do you what do you like to read?
I want to get quizzed. So
Okay.
next time I'm on, quiz me.
Well, here are the quiz questions.
No, give me those. Or I'll have to write new ones.
Yeah.
Write new ones. Write more that talk thematically about the book.
Okay, fine. I'll do that too.
Yes, thematically.
My favorite part of the book was your UFC career.
Oh, that's the professor. He was last hour.
Pat, you probably didn't even read past the forward, did you?
I read the first chapter. It
You did-
was a very easy read. It's an enjoyable book.
Did you read the forward?
With the,
Yes.
the quotes by Joe.
Yes.
What does it say?
Joe, as in Joe Rogan from UFC.
No, Mr. Joe Stump. So well, let me just, I want to read two things from the book.
Oh, we're getting a book reading. This is awesome.
No. So one of the things that
Here's a book
Joe
reading.
wrote in here, he says that basically he chuckled when I said, will you read my book and write a forward? And he said, I think Katrina knows that 80% of the people who purchase a book or receive it as a gift will open the book. So 80%, we're in the right direction. Only 45% will get past the first 25 pages, Pat George. A mere 20% will actually read the entire thing. And of that 20%, only 5% will take notes and highlight the book. Which bracket are you guys in?
Well, but is there a percentage of people who actually don't read the foreword? Because I know a lot of people who just skip the foreword and start at the
He didn't
beginning,
mention
but
that.
Yeah, that would be a good statistic to add to that.
I read the whole thing. When I pick up a book, I read everything from the dedications to the foreword all the way to the end.
I mostly. It depends on the type of book. If it's like a dummy's guide, I only want to read certain chapters.
Yeah.
If it's something a hobby I'm interested in picking up, I might skim the whole book.
I usually read the whole thing. I listen to a lot of stuff on Audible, and I've gotten that question a lot.
Oh, can I buy this book on Audible?
Not yet. Soon. I'm gonna record it myself. I'm doing it.
Okay, so
I
we're.
can tell you how the book ended.
Yeah.
How did the
They
book
all lived
end?
happily ever after.
Oh, I thought this one ended in tragedy.
I'd probably
No,
be.
it is happily ever after.
I think if it's for work, I finish them all, continue education, I'll finish it all. If it's pleasure, 75% of the time I will finish the book, and 25% I will just give up if I cannot get into it, or just if it's garbage.
It's a hard reader. It's like
It's just
yeah.
we're on different planets.
Yeah. So one of the things I do want to talk about in the book, because this is like kind of, I end on the last chapter in this one, but I talked about basically, the importance of home ownership, right? Not only from a fundamental perspective, but also from a net worth perspective. And so I had pulled some stats from the Federal Reserve study that was done in 2016, and it said at that time, and we know these numbers are rising, right? Because the average price here in Tampa by 2030 is supposed to be over $509,000. Wow. But in 2016, the median net worth of a homeowner increased from about $200,000 to $231,400, while the median net worth of a renter decreased by 5% to $5,200. So this is why I'm such a big advocate of homeownership. I feel like, if you don't follow any other fundamental rules, and I do talk about some other fundamental rules with money in the book, at least buy a home, because it's forced equity and you'll build some long-term wealth.
Agreed.
All right. Chris Gaj, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
If you have another story or something you want to share, we'd love to hear it.
I just would say, when it comes to the homeowners, we represent people that get hurt on a homeowner's property, inside or outside. Make sure you have your homeowner's insurance checked
Up to
that
date.
out.
Yeah, up to date. Author number 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. Love where you live or we'll fix it. Welcome home.
Love where you live.